Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Krekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show, bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raizakweyo. How are you, Aina?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much. Now, in today's broadcast, wildfires force evacuation of South African coastal towns. Teachers are threatened to boycott classes, over 100 learners in the same room, and Uganda stagnates in bottom quarter of anti-corruption rankings. You can follow all our programs on our website, which is called oneupto.com, or DSTV 285 or GoTV 25 in Namibia. Later on, we have a sports package courtesy of Ari Hohar, and we will be speaking to Talen Gore all the way in Zimbabwe to give us an update on what is happening in our favorite country. We'll be right back after the break.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, residents were evacuated from small coastal towns near Cape Town in South Africa as wildfires swept down from surrounding mountains and burned out of control for a second day on Tuesday. Authorities ordered a full evacuation of Pringle Bay, a coastal village popular with holiday makers about 80 kilometers from Cape Town. People evacuated parts of the nearby town of Betty's Bay on Monday. Wildfires are relatively common in the mountain ranges around Cape Town and further down the coast in the South African summer, but it's unusual for towns to be completely evacuated. The fires began Monday and were fueled by the hot, dry weather and strong coastal winds. Annelie Rabi, mayor of Overstrand municipality that oversees the towns, said as many as 6 wildfires had broken out in the area.
Moving over to our next story, teachers in the Mozambican national education system are threatening not to work with classes with over 100 learners in the same room since overcrowding has been harming the quality of education. The teachers' intention, announced on Monday during a march held in Maputo, comes days before the start of the 2024 school year, whose sole opening ceremony will be held on Wednesday so that the lessons may begin on the 1st of February. The teachers are demanding the end of classes in the open, payment for overtime allowances, as well as a reduction in numbers of learners in above average size classes. If we have classes with over 100 learners this school year, we will make a point of splitting the list, and then the government will decide what to do with the other part, one teacher said.
All right, in our next story, Uganda ranks in bottom quarter of a respected global barometer of public sector corruption released on Tuesday, unchanged from last year. Uganda's score of 26 on a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 indicates a highly corrupt public sector and 100 a clean system, is unchanged from last year. The country ranks 141st out of 180 countries in the Corruption Perceptions Index, compiled by the non-governmental organization Transparency International. This year's index shows that corruption is flourishing around the world. More than 2/3 of countries scored below 50, indicating serious corruption problems, with the global average remaining at 43, and the vast majority of countries either stagnating or declining over the past decade. Uganda has slipped down the rankings over the past decade, losing 2 points in the past 5 years and 3 points in the last 10 years.
Seychelles forces have freed a Sri Lanka vessel hijacked by armed Somali pirates, President Wabel Ramkalawan's office said on Monday in the latest attack against shipping in the Indian Ocean. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis have launched scores of attacks in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden targeting Israeli-linked vessels in response to Israel's war against the Palestinian militant group Hamas. International naval forces have been diverted north of the Gulf of Aden into the Red Sea, sparking fears of resurgent pirates exploiting the gap, with the first successful case of Somali piracy since 2017 recorded in December.
And the UN Rights Office said it needed $500 million to fund its work this year to advance human rights in a world damaged by the deep scars of war. We are living in profoundly divided times. Conflict continues to spiral in many parts of the world, most recently in the Middle East, UN Rights Chief Volker Turk told diplomats in Geneva. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has 1,962 staff in 91 countries. The agency said that last year it helped secure the release of 13,476 detainees, undertook 3,664 monitoring missions, and contributed to the improvement of laws and policies in 43 countries. Turk said $500 million was needed to boost considerably OHCHR's ability to change lives and address some of the biggest human rights challenges being faced across the globe. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we swing over to Zimbabwe to have a chat with Talent Gore.
E-ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nhom.com.na.
Let's take a quick trip to Zimbabwe, where Job Sikala is out of prison after more than 500 days of being incarcerated. Now, Talent Gore in Zimbabwe has this story and more. Talent, how are you doing this morning?
I'm all right in Africa. Good morning.
It is a good morning indeed. Please take this first story and tell us about Job Sikala.
Yes, a Zimbabwean court on Tuesday freed opposition politician Job Sikala after nearly 600 days of pre-trial detention on charges of inciting public violence in 2022. Job Sikala, who is 51, a leader the opposition party Citizens Coalition for Change, has been arrested dozens of times since he began his political career in 1999. He was jailed in 2022 for obstruction of justice and inciting public violence after saying that the ruling party had killed an opposition activist, which the ruling party denied. He denied all the charges against him. On Tuesday, a Harare magistrate convicted him of inciting public violence, but gave him a suspended 2-year sentence because he had already spent so long in jail. So right now he's out. He got out on Tuesday evening and he went to his place. And when he got to his place, there were dozens of people who were waiting to welcome him, and they were singing, and he later addressed and thanked everyone who stood by him in solidarity. And he also said that he's going to go around the country thanking every citizen. Was going to hold thank you rallies across the country.
Very interesting. You know, it could also be seen as a potential trampoline into CCC leadership, which is currently vacant. We'll be keeping an eye on Job Sikala. Non-transport operators in Zimbabwe are losing an average of 300 buses a year. Why is this, Talent?
Yes, apparently transport in Zimbabwe, they are losing about 300 buses per year due to road traffic accident, with companies approaching the police for stricter speed monitoring to curb the carnage. This also comes after bus crews have been accused of reckless driving contributing to a high accident rate. According to a recent Zimbabwe statistical agency report, at least 604 people died while 2,624 were injured out of the 12,564 road traffic accidents recorded in the third quarter of 2023. So the police have said that the bus operators were requesting stricter enforcement of speed limits in a bid to reduce reckless driving and accidents. The transport operators have also been losing buses per year, so they have been approaching the police for them to monitor and also install speed limiting devices on the buses. As of late, you'll notice that in Zimbabwe, in particular with the bus drivers and their conductors, they'll be cheering each other whilst they are driving, and they'll be driving in high speeds. There are quite a number of videos whereby you actually hear commuters, although people who are in the buses, actually complaining that the drivers are driving in high speeds. So right now they'll be for passengers on the roads, so they'll be racing each other. These are bus drivers. So you find out that in Zimbabwe, we have been experiencing quite a number of bus road traffic accidents, which is quite sad, given that the drivers, they are actually playing with people's lives when they are doing their races on the roads and all sorts of things.
All right, Talent, moving over to your final story. Fadzai Mahere has made a very bold move by quitting Parliament to show support for Chamisa. What sparked this event, Talent?
Yes, Citizens Coalition for Change, Member of Parliament for Mount Pleasant, Fadzai Mahere, has resigned as MP for Mount Pleasant days after declaring that the tainted state of Parliament, illegal suspensions, and the decision by Triple President Nelson Chamisa to de-associate himself from the party. The Fadzai Mahere is the first member of parliament to resign in solidarity with President Nelson Chamisa. The 38-year-old lawyer became the first Triple C lawmaker to quit in the wake of Chamisa's decision to leave the party he founded in 2022. Public pressure is mounting on other members of parliament and councillors to follow her example, but Triple C insiders say most are determined to continue in their roles. Despite Fadzai Mahere said that despite feeling a profound sense of sadness for all I had hoped we could do together to build a pleasant Mount Pleasant, I have officially submitted my resignation from Parliament and will cease to be a member of CCC, she said. She said this soon after Nelson, the president, had resigned from the party, and she then tendered a resignation from parliament and also the party. So right now there are quite squabbles in the party. Some people, especially the citizens, the voters who voted for the Triple C party to enter into parliament, are saying that most of the members of parliament should also um, resign
Accuse
from
themselves.
parliament, given that their president has resigned. So now we're just monitoring to see how the people are going to respond to that. But most of the members of parliament and councillors, they do not want to resign from parliament and council.
Well, I mean, if there's evidence that the party was captured and a lot of people want to stay in the party. It smells more of an internal coup than anything else. We'll certainly be looking forward to seeing how this one unfolds. But thank you very much, Talent, for breaking down the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's take a look at the weather predictions for today.
In economic news, the African Development Bank has sold its long-awaited hybrid capital note, the first financing of its kind of multilateral development banks, which are under increasing pressure to find ways to boost their lending. The G20 group of major economies has urged multilateral lenders to explore hybrid financing structures to try to maximize balance sheets and increase funding to help developing economies with crises, including climate change.
A judge in the U.S. state of Delaware has nailed a $55.8 billion US pay deal awarded to Elon Musk in 2018 by the electric car company Tesla. The lawsuit was filed by a shareholder who argued that it was an overpayment. The judge called the compensation an unfathomable sum that was not fair to shareholders and said the process leading to the package being approved was deeply flawed. She ruled the contract should be cancelled. The pay deal decided back in 2018 was the biggest ever in U.S. corporate history, helping to make Musk the richest person in the world.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. We head over to the indicators just before Ari swings by with the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news and starting off with soccer news first from the English Premier League. It was mostly FA Cup the last week or two, but back to English Premier League again, and it is Aston Villa that lost a good position. They lost the position from number 2 to number 4 on the English Premier League. They lost to Newcastle at home. The score there was 3-1. Good result for Newcastle. It was early in the first half. It was Fabian Schär that scored in the 32nd minute and also in the 36th minute, and then an own goal by Alex Moreno late in the second half half also confirmed that Newcastle won that game against Aston Villa by 3-1. Aston Villa now, they're in 4th position. They've got 43 points after 22 games. Still the leaders, Liverpool, they've got 48 points after 21 games. And also good movement for Arsenal. They briefly moved into 2nd position after beating Nottingham Forest by 2-1. And they've got 46 points after 22 games. And that is all in the English Premier League. And Luton Town, they beat Brighton. Impressive win for them by 4-0. And then Fulham and Everton played to a 0-0 draw. Continuing international sports news with cricket news, exciting test cricket coming up, and it is England that tour India at the moment. The first test of the 5 test series was won by England dramatically. So the second test will start on Friday. It will be played at Visakhapatnam. And news from the India camp is that Virat Kohli will still not be eligible or not play in the second test. His arrangement is to be playing in the 3rd, 4th and 5th test in the series. He's not playing because of personal reasons. But news also from the England camp is that Jack Leach, he's the spin bowler for England. He's injured at the moment. He's in doubt for the game on Friday. He injured his knee in the game in the first test, and so he will take a fitness test before the second test. If he cannot play, it is possible that Shoaib Bashir can make his debut. He's just 20 years old. He was surprisingly included in the England squad. He only started playing first-class cricket last year. So Shoaib Bashir likely to play if they play 3 spinners again like they did in the first test. And to conclude today's international sports news is Formula One racing news. The new season will start in a month's time. That will be on the 2nd of March. That will be the Bahrain Grand Prix. And the news coming in from teams at the moment is from the McLaren team is that Lando Norris confirmed that they extended his contract up till 2026 with the option of still racing in 2027. So it is Lando Norris that's been with the team since 2017. And he said that he's more confident than ever that McLaren can challenge Red Bull in the new season. And his teammate for the season will of course be Oscar Piastri for this new season for McLaren. In the final 24 races of the 2023 season, it was Lando Norris that scored the most points behind Max Verstappen, so McLaren showed that they made good progress leading into the 2024 season. Also news from Ferrari is that Carlos Sainz, he's finishing his contract at the end of the season. Unsure where he will be. There's speculation that he might go over to Red Bull, and at the Red Bull it is Sergio Perez also driving in his last season. So not confirmed yet if Sergio Perez will have an extension of his contract. There's talk that Sergio Perez might be looking at driving for Audi when they join the Formula One in a few years' time. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk more international sports news tomorrow. Goodbye.
Many thanks to Ari, but you know what it is? AFCON is still very much in our minds. Let's look at the fixtures for this weekend. Nigeria versus Angola. That is a cracker that's happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. Nigeria has won the AFCON several times. Angola, I believe, once, if I'm not mistaken. I'll need to double check that one, but both strong teams. Nigeria does have Osimhen, who is the highest, the most valuable African player right now on the international market. Costs 70 million to get him. I don't know if you have that in your pocket, but he's a very potent player who brought Napoli their first championship since Diego Maradona. DR Congo versus Guinea. This is another tough matchup. Guinea proved their mettle against Equatorial Guinea. DR Congo never to be counted out with their Wigan Athletic captain. Mali playing Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast determined at some point. They thought everything was done, but they have another chance to keep on going in their own home. Cape Verde, the new stars on the block, certainly the underdogs, first time in the tournament. They've gone this far, and they're facing South Africa, which ironically won the tournament a year after. The last time South Africa won the tournament was 1996, which was a year after their rugby team had won the Rugby World Cup. So some South Africans are hoping that the fortunes of last year's Rugby World Cup will spill over to AFCON this year. We'll see what Cape Verde has to say about that. Stay with Africa Good Morning just before we get into the highlights.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts.
As promised, here are the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Wildfires force evacuations of South African coastal towns. Teachers threaten to boycott classes of over 100 pupils in the same room. Uganda stagnates in bottom quarter of anti-corruption rankings. UN wants $500 million to advance human rights in 2024.
Thank you very much for watching Africa Good Morning. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. And on that note, it's all our love, all our light.
From Anaraza Kweyo and Ashwin Berry, Suraja Kanaka.